This is going to be our 20th anniversary, which is kind of hard to believe for a small museum because sustaining museums is not easy. And so for us to last 20 years is a testament to some of the work that some of the people in this room have done, especially Ed. And so we're very happy to have Ed Mihalkanin here tonight to give us a 20-year perspective about the museum. Dr. Mihalkanin and like-minded citizens of San Marcos became the founding board members determined to build a museum to honor our 36th President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson. Dr. Mihalkanin is currently an associate professor of political science at Texas State, where he has taught since the early 1990s. His research interests include U.S. foreign policy and international relations theory. His course offerings include courses in international relations theory, international political economics, politics and film, and American government institutions and processes. In addition to his teaching and serving as a founder of the museum, Dr. Mihalkanin also found time and the energy to serve as a city council member for 12 non-consecutive years. He served on the board here at the museum and as the president of the museum for most of the museum's existence, and did an exemplary job of providing the necessary leadership that we needed to get the museum from infancy into what it is today. In terms of academic credentials, he earned his BA in 1979 from Granite University in Peoria, Illinois, followed by a master's in international affairs in 1985 from American University in Washington, D.C., and in 1991, he received his PhD in international relations, also from American University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming back Dr. Ed Mihalkanin.
Thank you very much. That was very nice. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for being here tonight. Wayne talked about the beginning, in a sense, in 1997, but I do want to mention that even though I'm from Illinois originally, when I received my job offer here, I was actually teaching in Gettysburg College in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Nobody who lives there says Gettysburg. It's Gettysburg. Just like people in Maryland don't say that, they say Maryland, where Baltimore is. And so I drove in a U-Haul truck all my worldly possessions from Pennsylvania, and the most direct route was to go through Tennessee. I don't know if any of you have ever had the pleasure of doing that. Interstate 40, it's beautiful. You might remember, Art, that on that interstate, you'll see a huge sign. Andrew Johnson, 17th President of the United States, take the next exit for his home. Then you go, 50, 100 miles. Andrew Jackson, 7th President of the United States. Got to come and see the Hermitage. Then further down the road, James K. Polk, 11th President. Got to see it, right? So I'm like, oh, I knew Johnson had actually graduated from back at that time, what he graduated from was Southwest Texas State Teachers College. What it was when I came here was Southwest Texas State University. So I said, okay. So when I drove, I actually hit I-35 north of Austin, pouring down rain. I always remember July 15th, 1990, pouring down rain. And for the next 2 weeks, it rained here in San Marcos. And every single person told me, this is weird. This is not normal. Do not get used to this. It never rains in the summertime. But I was very surprised that here I see this huge sign, Southwest Texas State University, and there's not a little sign that says alma mater of LBJ. And so I was fortunate. Current Mayor Houston and I were first elected to the City Council in May of 1996, and then Mayor Billy G. Moore, don't know what got into him, but he created the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Committee on Tourism Development. So Jim Kimmel, who was a professor of the geography department, was the kind of like the professional person, and then I was made the chair, and it was a citizen group. And so we created a report that we called the ABCs of Tourism. And one of the ABCs was we really need to develop a Johnson Museum. And so John and Marcia Cooper, who had both been on that committee, hosted people in their home in May of 1997. We kicked around a range of ideas, but the consensus was it's a lot of work, but let's try to do this Johnson Museum thing. And so that's what we insanely did, not knowing what we were getting into. When we started the museum in the summer of 1997, we had a nonprofit corporate charter from the state of Texas and $50 in a checking account. So the board had a very strong consensus. We wanted the museum to be in the downtown. We thought it would be vitally important to have it in the downtown. So a lot of you will remember there was empty lots in the downtown. So Marcia Cooper and others contacted the local realty company, not company, but community, and said, what about the cost? And we realized for a lot that could sustain a museum, it could be minimum $100,000. And so if we and you're racing time, right? Because even though it's $100,000 right when they're telling you, how long is it going to take us to raise $100,000? So he said, okay, we don't think that worked. Marcia, I don't know how she found out that this building was owned by the Hays County government and had never been used. Oh, thank you very much. Had never been used. So we are grateful that I want to get the date, February 1998, we were able to sign a 30-year lease with the Hays County Commissioners Court for a nominal fee. And I will share with you the nominal fee or a nominal rent. It's $1 a year. So once we signed, yes, for nominal, you can't get less than that. So in February 1998, John Cooper was our treasurer, wrote a $30 check immediately to the county. Didn't want to overlook, we didn't want to miss a payment with $1. So it was like, here's $30, we're paying ahead of time. And so much of our time, really all of our time from February of 1998 to December 2006 was to raise the money to renovate this building. And so a lot of you might realize the problem is this is like one structure. So it's not like a house where you can close something off and then renovate a bedroom or renovate a kitchen or something, right? So what we did, I do want to acknowledge our first big donation was from the Tanger Corporation, Tanger Outlet Mall, for $10,000. And I want to acknowledge Stanley Tanger and also Louis Doiron, who at the time was working there as a staff member, who really made a difference. And that really helped, because having that big shock of money, which, I mean, today 10,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but that was so much, and people said, oh, okay, maybe they're going to do something. So what we did is in 1998, we were able to raise additional money and have an asbestos abatement and an interior demolition. Then what we wanted to do was, I was saying this to a few people, this building started as a hardware store, but it had been altered to be a movie theater. And it actually showed silent movies in the late 1920s. So, you know how sometimes an old-fashioned movie theater will have the ticket booth in the middle, while other times they'll be on either side? Well, this was the two-sided type of movie theater. So there was a divot, there was a square in. So some of you remember when there was a downtown project to redo all the sidewalks with the railings, and Mother Nature violated ADA on Guadalupe Street. Literally the incline from Hopkins Street to about halfway down on Guadalupe was too severe of an incline. That's why you'll notice not only is there a stairway, but there's that double back ramp system. So John Cooper, our treasurer, contacted the supervisor and said, hey, the museum wants to pay. Could you please pour cement? Because we wanted to capture and have that whole front be uniform across. And the man said, I've got the cement, I've got my men. It'd be more of a hassle to charge you because there'll be more paperwork to charge you, just do it. And so that's when you see the cement. So we actually were able to capture about 10 square feet, which really makes it a more standard, front of a building. The next big thing we did, and this was a big chunk of change, we did a structural renovation. And so that meant we had to pour a new foundation. And do you see the posts here on either side of you? Even though these side walls are not load-bearing, we were told by the city government that we had to have those posts. So if you go downstairs on the first floor, those posts, I think on the downstairs they're painted black, are embedded in the floor 2 feet. And then these also go up to the new ceiling, the new roof, which was also an add-on. It cost about $225,000. So some of you saw a photograph on the buffet table, and that was the groundbreaking, which was a little difficult because how do you break the ground when it's a cement floor? So we carted in sand, and then Mayor Habengrather, then County Commissioner Judge Jim Powers was there, Eleanor Crook, who was an old friend of the Johnson family. So we had a nice group of people, and then Curtis Briggs, who was the contractor. So we had a nice group of people. That was in October of 2003 when we had the groundbreaking for the structural renovation. And right before we did that, I don't know if any of you remember how so many of the old buildings had aluminum siding in the downtown. It was really god-awful. Why anybody thought aluminum siding was great, I don't know. But this building had 3 circular windows. It was very odd. So what we did is we thought, how can we do something so that people will actually see something different? Because, you know, asbestos abatement, the interior demolition, no one sees it. So we were able to get the money, and so we were able to restore the second-story facade to its original, how it looks. So, you know, you have the eyebrow, so to speak, above each window, and then you have the stone below. We couldn't get it back to the we couldn't certainly get it back to the hardware store, but what we did is we were, if you notice on the first floor facade, it's Riverstone. And we picked that because of how regional it is for this part of Texas. And I really want to say thank you very much to the Heritage Association, who gave the museum an award in 1999, and that really helped out to just acknowledge what we were doing and the publicity for it. By 2005, we were able to do some more work inside on the first floor. That's when the restrooms went in. That's when we did the offices and the interior back wall. If any of you've been in the museum, you know where the desk where Johnson signed the higher education thing, that wall there was added when we did this. Did you notice something about the restrooms? I know they're just restrooms, who cares? But I mean, did you notice the placement of them on the first and second floor? What do you notice?
Kind of like not tucked into a...
Well, no, but I mean, one's on top of the other. But what we did is we had a really good working relationship before we did the structural renovation with the presidential library and with the Johnson site in Johnson City. And we said, please tell us everything you wish you had known when you were doing building work. And you know what was funny about the visitor center in Johnson City? They forgot to put in a janitor's closet. Where are you going to put the mops? And something so simple, they didn't have any room. So every single one of them said, you will always have plumbing problems. It might take 30 years, but you're going to have plumbing problems. So if you're going to have a second story to your building, you want the restrooms on the second floor to be above the restrooms on the first floor. And so that's why we did it. But I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, you don't think of certain things because how many times do you renovate a building? You know, I want to shout out to Fred Markham and the Texas Pioneer Foundation. Fred called me up. I went over to his office, which back then was on San Antonio Street. And he said, I really want to help the museum get over the last hump. And so he offered to give us a $25,000 matching grant. So if we could raise, the Pioneer Foundation would give us up to $25,000. And also I want to give a shout out to Teresa Hobby and the Hobby Foundation. For the same reason, Teresa arranged for us to get 20. And the then board at the time said, we will not count the $20,000 from the hobby as the match for the 25. So we actually had $70,000 of new money coming in. And that's what permitted us to do the finish out work and permitted us to open the first floor to the public on December 6th, 2006. And that was a wonderful event. What we realized in 2006 was that there was only 2 people still as an officer connected to the museum that were there in 1997 and 2006. And it was Eleanor Crook and myself. And none of us had realized that until we were putting together the program. So Mrs. Crook was very gracious and she introduced Lucy Johnson. If you'll permit me to say this, I think Lucy Johnson missed her calling. I have seen her give excellent speeches, no text, and she has spoken in complete sentences. I mean, she is on point. And I was like, yeah, I think your home could have been the House of Representatives. But anyway, she was here. It was a very lovely evening. At that time, everybody seemed to be out of town. So the Mayor Pro Tem, Daniel Guerrero, was here for the city. And there was a little bit of a bind for us. You know, we're a nonprofit. We want to play nice with everybody. But there had just been an election. You know how county elections are. Elections in November, but people don't take over until January 1st. Well, the incumbent county judge had been defeated. So it's like, if we invite, you know, I mean, someone's gonna be angry. So yeah, but you know how we squared the circle? We asked what county precinct is this building in? And at that time it was in precinct 1. So we asked Debbie Gonzalez Nicholsby, and we just totally sidestepped that issue. Yeah, she's still there. Yeah, she's been on the commissioner's court longer than this building's been open. We really wanted the second floor open because we knew it would just be, we could do different things, you know, like this. We could just have different events. We could maybe lease out the place temporarily for an income stream. So we approached the county and we said, hey, what about donating some money? And instead the county said, yeah, we don't feel comfortable about that. We'll just pay it out of our own pocket directly. Well, that necessitated some work on the first floor because you see where the elevator is. If you're looking at the elevator, there's the room right next to it that has the machines connected to the elevator. Well, that was our storage because we didn't have any storage in the back third of the first floor. So we approached the city government, and the city government was wonderful and gave us a grant for $85,000. And then that permitted us to build on the first floor, not open to the public, our archive room and a place to create exhibits. And the archive room by itself, it does not have an outside wall. And that was also from advice from the archivist at the Presidential Library. He said, you never want your archives, you never want your artifacts to have an outside wall because you don't know, there's always bad things that can happen with outside wall, especially if you don't own the building on the other side of the wall. So we put it completely, totally in, and it has its own heat and humidity control separate from everything else. So that was good. So what I wanted to mention is we wanted to try to get the name out for the museum. So we started a golf tournament way before the museum opened. And today, and for a number of years, we've called it the Ted Bryan Memorial Golf Tournament. Ted Bryan was a longtime member of our board. I'm sure a lot of you know he had an electrician company and just really worked very hard to make sure that this was finally finished. So I was really happy we could name it after Ted. We actually started the golf tournament in 2002, and what is it this year, the 24th then? It's amazing. I want to also give a shout out to Pat Murdoch. It was Pat Murdoch's idea, who was a board member and then one of the presidents of our museum. She came up with the Christmas tree lighting event. And so if you can, it's a short event because you're dealing with like 6-year-olds. So there's a teacher who will teach the 6-year-olds 3 carols. They actually do, what do you call it, dance? Choreography. You know, I still remember the kids doing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and they were like, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little, you know. And so they would spin. I mean, they were on point. But, you know, they're just filled up with cookies. They sing the song. Santa Claus comes out, so he's a rock star. So they're excited. And then they go home and collapse. And so it's maybe an hour. It's not that long, but it's a lot of fun. And it's just great to see the kids and, you know, their innocence and to enjoy Santa Claus. So that was Pat Murdoch, 2000, the Christmas, and then we already did the golf tournament. Wanted to mention, I believe we started the autumn and spring lectures in 2013, fall of 2013. We've had some very interesting people. We've had H.W. Brands, who is a very well-known, nationally known historian, U.S. Historian. He's at UT Austin. We had an alumnus of Texas State, Oliver Del Cid, who was the ambassador from Belize to Mexico. And given the geography of Belize, he was also on his country's National Security Council. So very high up in that government. We also had, why am I blanking on his name? Do you remember the name of the NASA? George Abbey, who had been the head of NASA for a number of years. So, and then you brought in people, wasn't it you, Wayne, when you brought in people because there was a opera about Johnson, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. And so, beautiful voices. I mean, it just filled up this room. It was just wonderful. So we have different kind of programmings for the fall and spring lecture. It's never exactly the same. And then Wayne can speak more about the latest innovation of programming, and that's the Chautauqua, that I believe you started in the summer of 2023. And so you heard tonight that that's going to be in August. So I'll stop here. I just love talking about the museum and gives me memories of people who were so helpful in creating it. But I'm here for any questions you might have, and thanks for listening.
Could you name the one that helped, like Gwen Smith?
Well, yeah. Thank you. The original officers and boards were myself as president, Curtis Parkerson as VP, Valerie Guzman as secretary, John Cooper as treasurer, and on the board were William Crook, Elizabeth Crook, Bruce Harper, Gerald Hill, Red Jureka, Dr. Gwen Smith, and Myrtle Tarbutton. That was kind of interesting to have the last two on the same board at the same time. You didn't put them next to each other. And then when we opened the museum in 2006, there was myself again. The VP was Nora Linares Miller. Carmen Immel was the secretary. Suzanne Perkins was the treasurer. And that board was Ted Bryan, Ed Cable, Eleanor Crook, Teresa Santerre Hobby, Bill Mears, John L. Navarrete, Asoya Rodriguez, Steve Searle, Patty Sullivan, and Pat Murdoch. And I hope I said it, and if I didn't, it bears repeating. Teresa and Andrew Hobby provided from 1998 up to and including 2006 between $10,000 and $20,000 every single year. So the Hobby Foundation was our largest donor, and it was those donations that made the difference, because the board always wanted to be careful anytime we finished a reconstruction project to have some money in the bank, because you don't want to ever go down to close to zero. So we always wanted to have like a buffer of 20,000, and the regular infusion of money from the Hobby Foundation made a huge difference. So thank you for bringing that up.
Where did you get the materials for the exhibits?
This is where the Presidential Library has come in really well. As you can probably imagine, the Johnson site that has the highest profile is the Presidential Library. Anytime a person contacts the library and says, hey, I've got something. The library has been wonderful to say, we've got 3 of them. But there's this museum dedicated to Johnson in San Marcos. And so that is how we have gotten so many of our material. And then the longer we've been here, I wanted to mention, thank you for asking that question, because there's 3 gifts. In fact, I just saw the trunk. So that's a new one. You'll have to tell the story about the trunk. But we have on loan from Texas State University the desk and the chair and what the pens were in when Johnson signed the Higher Education Act of 1965, in November 1965, here at the university. Once we had the desk, which we've had since December 2006, the university has only asked for it once. And that was at the 50th anniversary ceremony they had at the University for the Higher Education Act. And so they came and they handled everything. You know, they came, took the desk, we crossed our fingers, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, we got it back. So we're very, very pleased. And then if you ever notice above the desk, there is a pen set that Jake Pickle, Congressman Jake Pickle, gave us after his retirement. And it has a number of pens that President Johnson gave Congressman Pickle, including the Higher Education Act, one of the pens for the Higher Education Act, and also one of the pens that created the public broadcasting system. And so please look at that. We're very proud of that. And then when you come into the building, if you go past the elevator, you know, you have the divot on the left. If you see a old-fashioned looking chair, that was in Johnson's majority leader's office when he was in the United States Senate in the 1950s. And the son of a person who worked for Johnson gave it to us, after contacting the presidential library. And the portrait, if you ever notice the portrait of Johnson, it's an oil painting. If you come in the front door, you have to look immediately to your left, and it's the wall there. That's actually a man, a citizen who lived in Minnesota, who really disrespected Lyndon Johnson. And he said, I'd really like to give it. So that's probably one of the longest artifacts we've had on the first floor, because that was here when we opened it in 2006. Yeah. And so it's word of mouth from either people have heard about it, but very importantly, the Presidential Library. And if you permit me, one other gift was from Bruce Moscow in 2014. He gave us a substantial set of campaign buttons. And so if you see the campaign buttons in the display case, and the one always cracks me up. It says, "I'm a Beatles fan and I'm voting for Johnson," but I thought that was so ironic because it's 64, right? But they're real, they're authentic 1964 campaign buttons, and that was Mr. Moscow, and so we very much appreciate that. When some people heard that we were trying to do a Johnson Museum, people would go out of their way to tell me how much they hated Lyndon Johnson. And I said, well, thank you for sharing. What are you supposed to say to that? Another part of it was there had been attempts in the past to create different museums. I was told, please correct me if I'm saying anything incorrect, but supposedly the university actually had a museum until a state law was passed, and then they were told they couldn't do it. Anyway, people thought that attempts had been made in the past and they had failed, and they say, why bother? So there was this reluctance to think something could happen. And so that's why we just said, anytime you do a big job, you don't think of the whole job, you just think, what can I do now? And so we just took it a step at a time, and each thing we did made it more possible for us to take the next step. Yeah, but those would be the two things. Yes?
How much money altogether did it take to do this?
The first floor, I have an estimate of $525,000. I really don't know what it took for the second floor because that was all in the county's hands, but I do know at that time for the elevator, $10,000. It was at least $10,000 just for the elevator. Yeah, we were trying to say, well, someone give us $10,000, we'll name the elevator after them. but we didn't get any
When the
takers.
Price Center got theirs, it cost 90.
Oh, okay.
For an
Well,
elevator.
and when do you remember when that happened? Well, I'll say $20,000, and that was a 2012 estimate of $20,000 just for the elevator. Yeah. And you can't have a second floor open to the public without an elevator. And also, if you notice, you notice the stairway that some of you used, we also have a back stairway. So we actually have two stairways, and that's something also. So if you go down this stairway, it's very well lit, and you just zip down a hallway, and there's a back door. So we were very conscious in the design for safety. Yeah. Yeah, elevator was that was huge. Oh, and I want to give a shout out. I apologize to the city government if I didn't mention it. I mentioned like we were going to have to get rid of the space for the closet because that's where the gears were going to be for the elevator. So we did receive a grant of $85,000. Oh, I did. Yeah, I did talk about the archives. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget anybody. Yeah. As you can probably tell, I've spent a lot of time different things connected to the museum.
Is there a consistent hunt for artifacts, whether it's online or local shops, or is it just wherever somebody decides to go?
I don't know if we've ever said these are the artifacts we would want. Some of it is just we've been very open to what's given to us, and also though it's really worked well because I mean the way the museum is, it's obviously it's dedicated to Johnson's experience here as a student at Texas State, but also when he taught in Cotulla for a year at the Wellhausen Elementary School, but also how those experiences of Johnson influenced his public career, especially in the areas of education and civil rights. So that's why we can talk about things, in his presidency, because in fact, if you ever listen to the speech that President Johnson gave to the joint session of Congress asking for a Voting Rights Act, he actually referenced his experience with his students in Cotulla, saying they knew at a fairly young age that people didn't like them, they had no idea why, but they felt the harm of racial discrimination because Wellhausen was overwhelmingly Mexican-American in terms of its student population. And so he vowed that if he ever could do anything, he was going to do something that would ameliorate those conditions. May I say something lighthearted? Does anybody remember What's My Line? Okay, I've got the right crowd. Okay. Remember, the first two would be like people you would never know. They weren't Hollywood people, so they didn't have to wear the mask, the contestant, well, one of the people who was a What's My Line contestant had been a student of Johnson's at Wellhausen. And so what he said was, I was spanked by Lyndon Johnson. And none of them got it. None of the people. Yeah. Remember, what was it? Arlene Francis, wasn't it? And John Daly was the host. Kitty Carlisle, who lived to be 500 years old. She was always Helen London, and it was this. Yeah, the men wore tuxedos. The people who were the male guesters wore tuxedos, and the host of the show wore tuxedos. Yeah, this was television, but we have some class here. So yeah, but it always makes me smile when I think of that What's My Line episode with the Lyndon Johnson spanked me. So that was fun. Yeah. So I can talk forever about this kind of stuff. But anyway, I don't want to belabor. But does anybody have any other questions? Yes.
Okay. Having seen birth and the growth of the museum, what would you see or like to have happen in the future?
I would love to have more people visit. And I would like us, if it's at all, I shouldn't say us, what I would like, and this is difficult, because you really, to get visiting exhibits, there's insurance, You have to have a guard on duty 24/7. And so it's a higher capital cost than what you think it would be, just to say, well, just because you have a plate, why do you need all of this? But we've looked into it in the past, and you have to have someone on duty 24/7 to be the recipient. You have to make sure your insurance. But I'd love us to be able to have maybe some more exhibits from other museums connected to Johnson, because this is very real. Most museums only show maybe 15% of their artifacts. And this is true Smithsonian, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, whatever, it's 15%. And so it would be great to be able to get some of those exhibits, but our museum just doesn't have the bank to be able to do that. But I would love that to happen. And the second thing I'd love is for people just to know about us, to come and see the exhibits, to volunteer, to come to these different events. Maybe you don't like golf, but like little kids with the singing Christmas carols, or come to the different range of speakers we have, because there's always something very interesting. I just hope people know that this museum has always been designed to be part of the San Marcos community. Oh, I'm very, very sorry. Yeah, there's a gala. Is it January or February? January gala. Very nice event. Where was it this year? Oh, it was okay, because sometimes it's been in a hotel. Oh. Oh, the Grand? Is that where it's going to be from now on? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, just make sure you put the reservations in quick. Okay, LBJ. Very good. Very good.
Any other questions for Ed?
Thank you very much for being here tonight.